Couple minutes, but we're going live. We're going live. Council. Yeah. Shelley. Calling in. Calling the regular meeting of November 10th, 2025 to order at 5 p.m. Adoption of the agenda. Has everyone looked at it and saw if there's any additions or deletions? I have none, Madam Mayor. Anyone else? Will anyone be prepared to make a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
I'll put a motion on the floor, Madam Mayor, that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried.
Cool.
Oh,
He's here. Sorry, I'm just needing to do one thing. But he is there.
Oh, there he is.
we have Councillor Erickson with us through virtual today. So Mr. Erickson, we have just voted, or if you want to vote? Send your vote. Sorry.
Mike's off.
You can just raise your hand to show us that you're voting in favor. Okay, we'll move on. On to adoption of the minutes. The minutes for October 6, 2025, regular council meeting are attached. Are there any changes to that? And if not, if someone could move those.
Your worship Madam Mayor, being that I was at that meeting, I will move those minutes as presented.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Number 2, the minutes of the November 3rd, 2025 organizational council meeting. Any changes to those that anyone noticed? And if not, is anyone prepared to make a motion to accept those? Mr. Deuce?
I can make a motion to adopt the minutes as presented.
Thank you. All those in favor? Is carried. There are no public hearings. Delegation presentations. We have Sagatow Friendship Center, Melissa Gildart, Executive Director. Please come to the front.
We'll find out.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marissa Geldard, and I'm the Executive Director of the Sagatow Friendship Society.
And I'm Alicia McCann. I am currently on the board of directors of the Sagatow Friendship Society, and I'm a social worker here in the community.
So today we wanted to present on the Out of the Cold shelter. The shelter recently opened November 1st again for the winter. So I did provide a package for you all. So we'll just go through that a little bit. And we do want to give an opportunity for questions as well, especially with the letter of support being on your agenda today. So Sagatow has been in our community for 61 years now. We were incorporated under the Societies Act on September 24th, 1964. Our vision is a community that accepts, respects, and supports all people, and our mission statement being using Indigenous knowledge as a foundation. We provide opportunities that empower individuals to reach their full potential. And we also have the mandate listed on the page as well, but I won't go through all of that. At Sagatow, we have a variety of different programs, the shelter being one of those programs. Currently, we offer 21 different programs. We do have an overview of each program for you to review. We really run the full continuum of programming all the way from prenatal care to elder services. One of our biggest programs is the Ground Level Youth Center, so that's for ages 10 to 29, can come to our center Monday to Friday. And they get to participate in a variety of different activities. We also have a strong outreach team right now that works to support community members as well as the vulnerable population on get access to the supports that are needed. We also provide a soup kitchen weekly, so we do soup kitchen Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we also cook for the Peace Regional Soup Kitchen for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So we have a lot of different programming and really programming for everyone. With the Peace River Correctional Center, we also currently hold 3 contracts. One being the Peace Regional Transport Services, where we transport released individuals back to their home communities. We have the Release Support Coordination Program, where we work with individuals in PRCC to create a release support plan. And then we have a new program, the FASD Transitional Mentor Program. So that works with individuals with or at risk of FASD and working within the jail for those 3 programs. Now when we move specifically into the Out of the Cold shelter, so for those of you that don't know, the shelter was established in our community on January 12th, 2020. The shelter came to be through a steering committee that consisted of Sagatawa, the Peace River Women's Shelter, the RCMP, Alberta Health Services, Métis Housing, and Servants Hearts Initiative. In April of 2020, Sagatawa took over the operations of the shelter, and we've been running the shelter ever since. Tonight, why we're coming to you is we've been conditionally approved for funding through the Alberta government for 24-hour shelter operations through their Temporary Emergency Response Measures program. So that program has given us funding for multiple years now. And so we're looking at that funding for the shelter from November 1st to April 30th. And it is a winter response funding. So after April 30th, the shelter operations would be dependent on funding. Currently, we're open 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. And that we open November 1st, and that will be November 1st to April 30th. The operations of the nighttime are being funded through Reaching Home, which is a federal program. And so regardless of this funding from the government, we will be open at 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. hours through the winter. Getting the additional funding will help us be open for the 24 hours and will allow us to provide additional daytime programming. Currently in our community, there's nothing for a vulnerable population during the day other than our admin office. And so we are hoping to have that additional programming at the shelter through the winter months. We did include an operational overview in the package. So that outlines the purpose of the 24-hour operations. So the purpose is to provide continuous safety and stability for vulnerable individuals, ensure daytime and overnight access to support services, housing referrals, and crisis intervention, reduce strain on emergency services in the region, and support guests in moving towards long-term housing independence and recovery. And ultimately, that being the goal for all individuals that access the shelter is that long-term stability. For the hours of operation, through this term funding, they would be 24 hours daily until April 30th. Without this funding, it would be 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Nightly. So our staffing model, we require a minimum of 2 staff on site at all times. So that works out to 6 full-time plus relief staff to ensure that we're fully staffed at all times. The roles include shelter support workers and a program manager. This equals 336 staffing hours per week to ensure safety, supervision, and program support. And then our staff do receive ongoing training. So they receive first aid, verbal de-escalation, and recovery coaching to ensure a safe, supportive, and recovery-oriented environment. And then if we turn the page, it does go through the services we provide. So a safe place to sleep, nutritious meals, laundry services, and then the outreach and support services. So through our outreach team, guests can connect with the team to secure housing, obtain ID, access cultural and emotional supports, and receive referrals to other community agencies and programs. And the outreach team does meet with clients after somebody has stayed at the shelter for 5 days. That triggers our outreach team to go make contact with them to see if there's any other options rather than staying at the shelter. Ultimately, the shelter isn't a long-term solution. It's just providing that immediate safety. So for evaluation of our program, so we do take daily stats at intake. So we track number of unique individual points of service, age, status, and community of origin. The community of origin is a new stat that we're tracking this year, and that came from conversations with this council or the previous council, sorry, on stats and information that was important. Outreach tracking, so our outreach team takes different stats, so they look at and maintain case notes, record referrals made, and monitor progress towards individual goals. Quarterly reporting, so to our funders, we are required to report quarterly, and we report on service impacts, housing connections, and community outcomes. And we are also planning to do a better job at community response, so this will include providing regular updates and information to the community about the shelter services, successes, and ongoing needs to foster transparency, understanding, and community support. So just at the end here, it just says the Out of the Cold shelter is a vital resource for Peace River, providing a safe, structured, and supportive environment for individuals experiencing homelessness, including those living with mental health and addictions challenges. Comprehensive policies and procedures are in place to ensure the safety and well-being of both staff and clients, promoting a respectful and secure environment for all. With provincial funding, conditionally approved municipal support from the town is essential to ensure 24-hour operations, enabling uninterrupted access to safety, shelter, meals, hygiene services, and outreach supports. And then I won't go through it all. And then I also wanted to discuss the letter of support request that we put forward. In this letter, we did make suggestions on how we were going to improve shelter services. And a lot of these stemmed from the community forum that was held by the Mental Health and Addictions Task Force in May. So one of the biggest ones that we've heard from the community forum and just from community meetings is the need to improve public relations and education. So a lot of the narratives that are going around aren't necessarily true. So we want to ensure that the truth is being put out there, and also successes too, because the shelter has had a lot of successes, but we don't, well, I guess the general public doesn't get to hear that. So we're really going to work on bringing that forward and doing more of that public relations piece to ensure the community is kept informed about the shelter. And then we touched on the enhanced intake data collection. So one of the biggest things that's come up in community meetings is that people want to know the community origin of people accessing the shelter. So that is a stat that we're going to keep. We're not going to deny service based on that, but we're going to gather the information. And then we have expanded daytime programming. So we have partnered with Recovery Alberta and the Canadian Mental Health Association to provide programming specifically at the shelter. Currently, Recovery Alberta comes to our office Tuesdays and Thursdays and provides addictions counseling directly in our center. And then CMHA will bring in the Recovery College directly to the shelter, to the clientele that are accessing shelter. And then it's the staff training. So as I spoke about before, we are getting staff trained as recovery coaches. This is a free training provided by the government of Alberta to enhance client support and look at and be more recovery oriented at the shelter. And then outreach planning. So we spoke about outreach a little bit. So after the 5 days of consecutive use at the shelter, we will work with the clients to develop a plan for transitioning out of the shelter. Clients aren't going to be turned away if they access the shelter for a period of time, but they will be required to engage with the outreach team and look at additional planning and long-term plans for them. In the package, I also did include a few letters of support. So this includes a letter from the Alberta government, the RCMP, Wapiti House in Grande Prairie, the Peace River Women's Shelter, and Peace River Restorative Justice. With the Wapiti House in Grande Prairie, it is important to note that that's the closest shelter to us and they are at capacity. We were working to transport individuals to Grande Prairie, especially during the summer when we were closed, but we were notified that they were at capacity and could no longer accept any individuals that we sent there. So we felt it was really important to get that letter of support from the Wapiti House as well, being the closest shelter to us. So that was all we had. We'd like to open it up for any questions though.
Okay, questions? Mr. Ford.
Yeah, one of the questions I had, and this comes from talking with people in the public and the business community. Can you talk about the difference between, like, in your operations, but the difference between running a dry shelter and running a wet shelter?
Yeah, so this is a common question that we get as well. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what a wet shelter is. So at our shelter, it would be considered a wet shelter. So that means that clients can come in as they are, so they can come in intoxicated, but that doesn't mean they're allowed to use at the shelter. During our intake process, all of their personal belongings are put in a bin that goes in a separate room. So they don't have access to any substances while in the shelter, so they can come in intoxicated, but they aren't allowed to use inside the shelter. And if they are using outside the shelter on our shelter grounds, we do call the RCMP.
And the second question I have is in your package, you talked about like the opening with all the programs that you do with Sagatawa. I know the letter of support that you're asking for is specific to the out of the cold shelter. So am I correct in saying that a lot of this programming that you're already doing is done through the building down by the old bus depot, and this letter of support would not affect the programming that you already talked about?
Yes, so the letter of support is strictly for shelter operations, and it's based on the government of Alberta's requirement to have the letter of support from the town to operate the shelter 24 hours. It doesn't affect our other programming at all.
Yeah, the only reason why I asked that question is because we have four new counselors
Yeah,
attending the meeting who may or may not know that information.
no, that's a good question. Yeah, this funding is separate from our other funded programs.
And my last comment or my last question would be, and I did ask this to somebody at the open house, which I did attend. What would be your comments on whether, like, if you're open at night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 12 in the afternoon? What are your thoughts and comments on the RCMP and or our CPOs or community peace officers just coming by randomly and doing a security check?
So they're welcome to come at any time. They're welcome to come physically to the shelter and walk through at any time. The issue that we were having in the past was we were getting phone calls. And so we can't verify over the phone if it is an RCMP officer. So we can't confirm if clients are there at the shelter over the phone based on policy, but they're more than welcome at any time to come walk through the shelter, talk to staff, talk to clients anytime.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Hey, Marissa. So I have a couple questions regarding some of the programs that you offer to them. You had mentioned that you do like food services and laundry services. I think I know how it works, but when I went to the open house, I didn't see any of those types of facilities there. Do the people who sleep there then go to the other shelter or the other facility that you guys have down by the bus depot, or how does that work?
So for our laundry services specifically, we do have a washer and dryer at the shelter. It's kind of tucked in the bathroom, so you can't really see it. But we were getting overloaded there with, just because we have so much laundry with all the blankets and everything that's there. So the client laundry, that's done at our admin building, and they can come during the day and drop off their laundry, and then we do it there. Blankets and pillows are done at the shelter. And as far as meals, breakfast and supper is served at the shelter. We do have a kitchen in the back area there. Soup kitchen is served at our admin building.
Do you have any type of mechanism for like a 3 strike and you're out, we won't take you in again, or how does that work? Cause I know in other shelters that I have talked to, I have a long history with a family with addiction. So I know that they have been in shelters before, and if they were caught with contraband or alcohol or anything like that, they were getting like a written warning, and once it was 3 times, they were no longer allowed to visit that facility. Is there anything like that that you guys have in place?
Yes, so we do have a service restriction policy. It is based on the offense. So we go through minor to severe incidents, and it's really dependent on each individual incident. But there is, part of the policy is that if there are serious incidents or a number of recurring incidents, that they would be given a service restriction or a ban. And that would typically be for a period of time as determined by the policy. And there are situations and incidents where it would constitute a lifelong ban or, so we do have that policy in place.
Okay. So I don't know.
Mr. Erickson? Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Any of the new, Councilor Fortin?
Just one question. I know you guys are here for a support letter for the shelter specifically. But, I'm just curious with this program with the correctional center, providing transportation when they're released. You know, are we finding, like, are these people getting transported to where they come from, or if they know we have a shelter, do you find that enticing people to stay here? Do you have any comment towards that?
Due to our contract with PRCC, I can't speak on specifics, but I can tell you that the majority of clientele that we're transporting want to go. We don't have very many people that come into our office that want to stay.
Okay, fair, thank you.
Do any of them, do they all check in? Are there some that are dropped off and just don't check in and go their own way before they even enter your facility?
That can happen, yes. The PRCC gives us transportation recs, and then the individual chooses what they do with that. But if we get the transportation rec to us, they're transported.
Okay, I have one question, with the state of how things are right now, only running from 10 to 8 in the morning. Until you know the future of your daytime programming, what are you doing to mitigate the loitering and the messes and things like that, or at that old, at the site itself? We do have a land use bylaw that states the emergency shelters have to be good neighbors. So that's not a good neighbor. So like, what is your, plans for that?
So since we have opened, we've gotten a few emails and phone calls regarding messes left at the shelter, and they're cleaned up as soon as we get those calls. As far as the cleanup and loitering, it is a lot easier when the shelter is open 24 hours because it's staffed 24 hours. So if there's loitering or a mess at the shelter, the staff can ensure it's cleaned up. It's a little bit more challenging now just with us being in a different location. But as I said, we've gotten a few of those calls and the mess is cleaned up right away. Yeah.
We've had client participation as well, like in doing a lot of the cleanup at the old building, so that's really nice to see like some accountability as well from the client.
I guess I'm asking, does that accountability not come before there has to be a situation where they clean up? Like, what are you doing when you're taking them in there? Are they not, being informed of how they are to behave or how they are to behave outside that door as long as they're on that property? How does that? So then that doesn't happen, then you don't have, like, that's where I'm getting, what I'm getting at.
So when clients come into the shelter, they are informed of the responsibilities of accessing the shelter, and that includes the property. The issue becomes is when there's no staff during the day, that's harder to police there. So we do have policy in place. We do have a charter of rights, I guess, in our policies for shelter clients specifically, and the expectations that are expected if they're accessing the shelter. It just becomes difficult when there's not that 24-hour staffing. But like I said, we have been responding to calls and cleaning up when we're made aware of those issues.
Councilor Ford?
Yeah, two more questions. So, you had responded to Councillor Goose about the laundry services, so because there's not enough capacity at the shelter, so you're doing it down at the main facility or where the administration is. So is that service, would that service still be provided? Like, do you have to be a member or not? I'm gonna using the wrong word there. Do you have to be using the shelter in order to drop laundry off and have it done at the main facility?
Typically it is for shelter users or people that are
Experiencing homelessness.
yes. But if there was a situation where a client within other programs came in that needed their laundry done or needed assistance with that, 100% we would do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and my second question comes to the inmate transport. Can you speak to that a little bit more as to like picking up at the correctional center? Cause I'm not sure if my fellow new counselors know about that program. And when you get that release data, what happens if an inmate is released at a certain time when that bus is not running? What happens then?
So unfortunately, with questions around the PRCC, transport, I'm unable to speak to that due to our contract. But my understanding from the director of PRCC is that council can direct questions to him. And then the ministry will provide information directly to you. I just can't speak to that.
I mean, maybe you can answer this one. Timeline. Like, what times do you pick, like, what time during the day do you pick up and what time do you not? Like, if somebody's released at 1 o'clock in the morning, are you picking that inmate up? Or if they're released at noon, are you picking that inmate up? That's more the question.
Yes, pickup can happen at any time. We are just contacted and then we, schedule the transport, so it can happen at any.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to add to, so we've been open for 9 nights now, and there's been 32 unique individuals that have already accessed the shelter and 115 points of service at the shelter just within those 9 days that we've been open, or the 9 nights.
Did you say 32?
Yes, 32 unique individuals.
Okay, well, your capacity is 28.
Yes, so this wouldn't be at one time, it would be throughout
Oh,
the night, but our capacity at the shelter for sleeping is 28 individuals sleeping on mats.
oh, thank you.
Counselor Jones?
So with those individuals that you're servicing, are any of them new people to you or like just in general, are they new clients or are they people who were here last year? Or I guess my question is does having the shelter open bring in people from the outside area that wouldn't normally be here?
Typically, we haven't seen a huge increase of individuals from outside of the area at the shelter. I can speak to the last 9 days, that's the easy one for me
Yeah.
to speak to. We've only had one new individual, but from Peace River, just not known to us in that population.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Just one question, please. On this, you have mentioned that you modify your intake process. You include questions about the origin. And you mentioned that it's strictly for statistical and planning processes. I'm just wondering, like, what type of planning is this? Is it like to take them back to where they come from, or what sort of planning? Can you expand it on that, please?
So I think that would be part of the planning is to see, to work with other communities if shelter services are needed elsewhere. Because right now Peace River is the hub, for the north, and we are getting, I guess there's also been community questions regarding the community of origin. So we want to take a year to really get that data, collect it, and then make a plan from if we need to work with different communities or if we need to lobby the government and say, you know, our shelter is we don't have capacity for all the people that are coming in. Like I said, that hasn't historically happened as far as our knowledge, but we want to be able to collect the data and have those conversations with the Alberta government if shelter is needed elsewhere as well.
Any more questions?
Just one,
Counselor Point?
yeah, just in case I missed it. When is the deadline for an answer?
So technically the shelter, the term funding started on November 1st, so we need an answer as soon as possible for the letter of support. And that we already have been approved for the funding, but it is conditional on the letter of support from the town.
In other words, ASAP.
Yes, please.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, we will entertain a motion for tabling it. No,
Not to my report,
oh,
ma'am.
not till your report, okay. So we just accept it for information, basically.
They'll get back to you.
So, yeah, we'll discuss it and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Set the adult chairs up here, so fancy.
Next up, we'll have the bylaw readings with Kate Parsons. Lead us through this.
Council. So before you, you have the meeting procedures bylaw amendment for the deputy mayor appointment, bylaw number 2179. So at the November 3rd Governance and Priorities Committee meeting, council provided direction to bring forward this amendment. The current bylaw 2174 has the deputy mayor being appointed in a rotation schedule every 4 months, allowing each member of council to serve as deputy mayor twice throughout their term. Previously under bylaw 2085, which was the bylaw that was replaced by 2174, the deputy mayor was appointed for a 1-year term at each organizational meeting, with the first deputy mayor position being appointed based on the election results for that councillor with the highest number of votes. The MGA is not specific as to how the deputy mayor is appointed, simply states that we must have one and only one person can serve as a deputy mayor at a time. So attached to the report is the draft bylaw, which reverts back to the previous way of appointing the deputy mayor for 1 year from organizational meeting to organizational meeting. However, it does have some expansions just to give clarity as to how we appoint a person after the first organizational meeting following the election. I know when we were operating under the previous procedural bylaw, there was sometimes confusion or questions about how we determine who is the next deputy mayor. So this just gives clarity in the procedures of doing that. Nominations from the floor, more than one nomination received from the floor that's accepted, we go to secret ballot, just like we were doing the committee appointments. So the bylaw just provides that added clarity for those questions that arise in future councils. That otherwise remains basically the same from 2085 and aligns with how council decided to appoint a deputy mayor for this term round, with the highest number being assigned to deputy mayor. And so we will look for feedback on that, and if council's okay with it, look for 3 readings this evening. We might not always ask for 3 readings of a bylaw. It's good practice to let bylaws sit and ruminate. Sometimes you could give 1 to 2 readings and then wait for the next meeting to give a 3rd. However, this bylaw is fairly inconsequential in its impact on things, and we'll just make sure that how council appointed their deputy mayor now aligns with the bylaw that is in place. For passing of bylaws with 3 readings at 1 meeting, it is required that after the motion for 2nd reading has passed and carried, that a motion be made to place the bylaw for 3rd reading. That motion must be carried unanimously by the councillors present, otherwise it cannot proceed to 3rd reading within the same meeting. So if you were to disagree that the bylaw shouldn't go to 3rd reading, you would vote against that motion, and it would just come to a future meeting for 3rd reading. So that is up to council, and I am happy to take any questions you might have.
Do you have anybody have any questions for Kayla? I think we kind of went over this the last time, so if anybody's prepared to make the first motion.
Sure, I'll move that council give first reading to bylaw number 2179, meeting procedures bylaw amendment, deputy mayor appointment.
All those in favor? That is carried. Would anybody have the appetite for a 2nd reading? Mr. Booth?
I would move that council give 2nd reading to bylaw number 2179.
And there's no more discussion. So all in favor? And that is carried. Now we'll need motion to move that the bylaw be placed for 3rd reading. So who would like to make that?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I put a motion on the floor that council provide or allow bylaw number 2179, meeting procedures bylaw amended, deputy mayor appointment be placed for 3rd reading.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor? And that is online, it's carried. And last but not least, for the 3rd reading, 1 more motion. Jesus, a small supply list.
Or I'll move the council give third reading to bylaw number 2179.
No discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. There is no unfinished business. We'll move on to current business, business recognition policy with Bart Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The request for direction before council this evening is regarding a proposed business recognition policy. So as we have become more active and growing our economic development efforts and our work in that supporting our local businesses, we would like to bring forward, and we're suggesting a recognition policy. And we need council's direction regarding this. The policy is looking to recognize longstanding businesses as well as recognizing new businesses in the community. So if I could walk through the policy draft with council. The purpose again of this policy is to recognize and celebrate contributions of local businesses that support economic development and quality of life within the town. The policy establishes a framework for administration and the community to acknowledge business achievements, milestones, initiatives that positively impact the community. There's two components to this policy. The first one is recognizing milestone anniversaries. So it's suggested that we recognize businesses celebrating 25, 50, 75, and 100 years of anniversary within the community by giving a 1-year free business license and also a plaque of recognition. And the second component of this policy is an annual award as part of the Davies Award. The Davies Awards ceremony that's handled every year with the Chamber of Commerce. The last 2 years, the Economic Development Committee has undertaken to recommend and award an ambassador award to a business in our community, and we would now want to kind of formalize it through policy. And that Ambassador Davies Award is quickly coming up again. So our desire is to have this policy approved so then the Economic Development Committee could once again go forward and put a recognition award forward for this upcoming ceremony. There are a couple of eligibility requirements. So for the anniversary awards, we're suggesting that the business obviously has a town of Peace River business license, and they are operating in the town of Peace River at the time of the award presentation. And we're suggesting a minimum of 5 years in town operating. And then the Ambassador Award recipients, we're suggesting again, they have a town of Peace River business license, that they're actually operating in the town of Peace River and they continue to do so at the time. They have not won the Ambassador Award in the past 3 years. They don't have anyone on the management team serving on the Economic Development Committee. And we were looking for direction from council on how long perhaps they should be operating in the town of Peace River, if there is a minimum suggestion before they are put forward for this award. And award eligibility, again, suggesting for the anniversary award that they are here, and part of it is for 5 years. Every 5 years, we would recognize them, but then they get more significant awards at 25 years and beyond. The Ambassador Award, the intention behind the Ambassador Award is a business that showcases exceptional leadership and vision, drives regional economic development, promotes vibrancy in the community, and makes a meaningful contribution to the community. So for example, last year's recipient, I believe, was the mall manager at the time, and the Mexican Mennonite store. Can't remember who was the prior year.
Laverne Construction.
Oh, right, yes, well, there's some examples for our community to be aware of who we're recognizing. So we are looking for your input and guidance and direction on the number of years there, and I'll take your questions.
Couple questions for me. Has this been passed through the Economic Development Committee already for their input?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I believe it has been, but I have not been part of a couple of them, but I believe it has been.
My only other comment, actually, there's two more. With the eligibility for the business license and the recipient of the plaques for the 25, 50, and 75 year, was there any type of reasoning that administration had went with those years? Personally, myself, I'd like to see it drop to the first one being 10 years. 25 years is an entire career for somebody. So that was my only thought on that. And the only other thing, the selection process. It says here the business retention specialist or designate will review applications and coordinate the recognition program. I'm not sure if they're planning on doing that with the EDC, but quite often the members of the EDC will know more about the specific businesses, just being that they're in the business community, than just the business retention specialist alone. But I'd like to see them have a little more input on the selection process. That's it for me.
If I may, your worship, so absolutely open to 10 years if council is in agreement. I'm not sure, could you just tell me what number you were speaking to? And were you talking about the milestone award? Because most of that should be driven, we're hoping a lot of the milestone awards, we will eventually be able to initiate from our office, just generally as we capture licenses, we're trying to capture that data. The anniversary awards, we're definitely working through with the EDC. I'm not sure which one you were speaking to though, if you could tell me which number.
It was the 7.1 actually, just because it had said the business retention specialist will review applications and coordinate recognition
So
program.
perhaps maybe that anniversary award I should be changing to the, actually that is the milestone. Good participation. I'll just add some wording with participation.
Thank you.
Conflict maybe.
Councilor Ward.
Yes, with this, the milestone award, so the, whatever, so like the 25, the 50, 75, and 100-year anniversaries. Is administration looking at possibly doing anything retroactive? Because I think, I won't mention business names, but I think there's a couple of businesses out there that did hit that 50 years in the last couple of years. So I'm just wondering if you would be looking at doing some retroactive as well.
Through your worship, yeah, we have, this is actually kind of what prompted it. Valley Printers, I think was one of them, had 100-year, so we're like, wow, we need to be recognizing some of this. So we have recognized a couple, and when those big ones, we've actually asked our comms team to do a little bit of a news story about them, because 100 years, wow, right?
Yeah.
So if you are aware of a couple, because again, we have recognized a couple in the past year or two, please let me know, because we do want to bring that to the community's attention and celebrate those milestones.
Councilor Bumble.
Yeah, first, thank you for this initiative. It's a very good one, and I see a lot of advantages in doing this. Amongst other things, it will boost our local economy. It will attract more businesses and foster good relationship between the town and the businesses. It's not a lot of questions that I have here, but I was thinking section 6.2, it says that in the opinion of the TPR EDC, the business drives regional economic development. And we revise it to say local and regional development, so that it's just not regional. And also in section 2.1, I think that is a typo. It says ESR instead of ERS.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Okay, I just have a couple here. I agree with Councilman Deuce, I think we're waiting too long for 25. I don't wanna wait that long for an award if I was a business or recognition, so I think 10 years would be appropriate to include in there. And, has operated in the town of Peace River, since we are not, if you have won in the last 3 years, you can't win again. Would a minimum of 3 years be appropriate to have in that? And 4.5, do you think? For the rest of council, we have to fill in that for a minimum of years to have operated before they're eligible for the ambassador.
5.
You'd say 5?
5.
I'm good with 5. Most of the other ones look like it's 5 years, so.
Okay, so we'll do 5 in there. Okay, could we? Are there any more questions with that? If not, could we get a motion? The direct administration. Councilor Newsom.
I can make that motion. I move that council direct administration to amend the business recognition policy as discussed and return the amended policy to council for consideration of formal adoption.
Are there any more discussion on that? All those in favor? Carried. Next, we have Ms. Miller with Sagatow Friendship Society request for letter of support.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as this request for decision, as you heard with the presentation from the delegation from Sagatow, they are seeking a letter of support from the town, which is a condition that has been imposed by the province in order for them to receive their operational grant funding under the Temporary Emergency Response Measures Grant. So just briefly, again, Sagatow provides a number of programs of all ages, including the cold shelter during the winter months, which began November 1st, as you heard. Now they're seeking this funding to support 24/7 operations during the winter. You've heard, I'm not going to walk through the advantages and disadvantages, other than it does provide 24/7 coverage. The disadvantages, there have been some concerns and reservations from the community. At this time, there's no financial implications on this decision that impacts the municipality as our budget or operations here. You have 2 options. One, you can approve the temporary, the letter of support. Second option is you can choose to decline the letter of support. And at this time, administration recommends that there are parts of this discussion that is subject to the exceptions to disclosure under the Access to Information Act, specifically Section 19, which is disclosure is harmful to business interests of a third party, and Section 20, disclosure harmful to personal privacy. And administration recommends that council table this discussion at this time to the closed session item that is scheduled further down on the agenda.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that?
No discussion, Madam Mayor, but I put a motion on the floor that council table the discussion regarding Sagatow Friendship Society's request for a letter of support until the closed session item scheduled further down on this meeting agenda.
All those in favor? And that is carried. We'll move on to number 3, new residential solid waste service provider, a CAO Miller.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. This one is a bit exciting because it speaks to a continued service level at a reduced cost. And that's always exciting for administration to be able to share. So it's regarding a new residential solid waste service provider. So the town's current contract with a residential waste collection service provider, GFL, expires at the end of this year or next month. And in anticipation of this, we went out for a request for proposal for residential waste services earlier in the summer. The successful proponent of that request for proposal was Prairie Disposal Limited. So administration is beginning our communications regarding this change with our residents and sharing what this will mean to them. So collection days should remain the same, but it'll be switching out of the rolling bins that are currently used for waste collection. So this is just initial awareness to council. We will be launching a information campaign for residents. But what we can expect is the week of November 17th, Prairie Disposal will start to deliver brand new bins to the residents, and in preparation of them taking over the service. And if you don't get a cart by the 25th of November, we're gonna be asking residents to report that so we can make sure that they get a bin to them. Then the week of November 24th, that's the last week that GFL will be providing the service for us. So residents are going to be asked to leave their bins on the street. After it's dumped, GFL will be coming along and picking up those bins. And then the following week, the week of December 1st, Prairie Disposal will be taking over the service. And I believe it is a 5-year contract that they will hold with us. Prairie Disposal also previously won the award for the recycling contract within the town boundaries under that new program, which we no longer have to fund recycling through our tax supported service. And they will be keeping, just like that, they maintain the same schedule during the recycling pickup. They'll also maintain the same solid waste garbage pickup days. With this new contract, the town will see a roughly $10,000 reduction in cost for residential waste collection. The new contract will start at $225,000 a year, and that actually includes the spring and fall cleanup events in comparison to previous years where the cost was $235,000. Overall changes to the waste collection, including changes to the recycling program made earlier this year, means that the expense on the waste portion of utilities has decreased by close to $64,000 next year over this year. This is a significant savings for our residents moving forward in 2025. And we will discuss this operational savings as part of utility rate budget discussions, where council will make decision whether they want to increase the contribution to the reserve for that service or reduce the service fees a little bit for residents next year. So good news all around. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Duke?
Congratulations on getting the prices down. Good job, admin. My question is the new contract will start at $225,000 per year. It says start. Do they ratchet up every year over the 5-year term?
I cannot speak to because I have not seen this, and this falls under Director Fisher's, but typically there is an annual increase, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Will someone entertain a motion?
I can throw a motion on the floor and I'll move that council accept the briefing note regarding the new residential solid waste service provider for information.
And all those in favor? And it is carried. Next up, we have reports. First would be the CAO and Legislative Services third quarter report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am gonna take my time. Normally I would just breeze through this a bit, anticipating that council has read through it, but being I have new council at the table, I am gonna take a little bit of time and walk through this a little slower than normal. So looking back, typically on my quarterly reports, I report what is the top priorities that I'd be working on in the next quarter. And then I reflect back on those things in your new report. So things that were highlighted in my Q2 report of importance that I would be working on. So protective services. Currently, the town has a service agreement with County of Northern Lights, and we are under discussions and renewal on that contract. Work on that stalled a little bit in this quarter. The CAO with the County of Northern Lights had some vacation time. Our chief of police or fire, I mean, that's heavily involved in this, was engaged with the Planning the Heat conference. And so we will be getting back to this during Q3, and hopefully we can have a draft contract prepared by the end of the year. The MD of Peace capital contribution. We are having discussions regarding the MD of Peace and their contribution to our ladder truck that was purchased in 2023. There seems to be a little bit of a dispute regarding that. We're working through that. MD of Peace had a newly appointed CAO this summer, and they also took some vacation time. And so I have had initial conversations with them, and we sent them the new CEO, the related documentation to support our claim. And we are continuing with the dispute resolution process on that. Enabling Housing Choices North, that is a project that we've been working with. It's a housing study project. We're working with Rural Development Network. We applied for this project back late December last year. We were successful in being awarded as part of their study group. And this is intention is to come up with some recommendations to help our community encourage housing development. So they over the summer they did a What We Heard report. They did some surveying. They've we meet with them by every 2 weeks, and it's coming to a conclusion, that project. We're anticipating the final report coming back in late December, early January. The nuclear energy is another key part of my portfolio. Trying to become knowledgeable and as aware as possible on nuclear energy, the project, what it could potential impacts on our community, and how and what we need to do to potentially prepare for such a project. I am a member of the Peace Regional Energy Committee. We did not meet over the summer. It was kind of slow, as things do slow down during the summer. I did attend by invitation by Energy Alberta, a site selecting session where they went through all of the components that they look at when determining a suitable site selection. And then they were tapping in on local knowledge too, for see what isn't out there on record, and capturing people that maybe they need to look at and research different things. Future town hall, summer schedules, construction season demands slowed that project down some. As Pat has mentioned to me numerous times, every project he does, every capital project is like an individual project he's managing, so we slowed down on that a little bit. There are some updated designs that have been drafted. Some very preliminary cost estimates have been calculated, and administration is looking forward to showing those draft designs with council and getting some input on that. Urban Reserve. So those who are not familiar, in 2024, the town, we received notification from Indigenous Services Canada that Woodland Cree First Nation purchased 32 acres just behind Home Hardware, with the intention of turning that to urban reserve for the purposes of economic development. So we have responded to that letter. We have had some initial conversations with administration of Woodland Cree. And we are waiting right now, from them on some information of probable, volumes of utilities that they would need to service their potential development. So, our team can start working on those calculations and see if we're able to and what we would need to perhaps improve to provide services for them. Elections, so election was a big component, obviously, this whole year actually, and certainly this last quarter. For our legislative services manager, so she's been working throughout the entire, just trying to stay up with the changes of the legislation as the province was making them, and all of the things regarding elections, so training, getting all the information out to the candidates, planning the day, and just making sure everything ran as smoothly as it did. So kudos, great job, because there's a lot of work and everything went without a hitch and our count was quick and efficient. And we don't want to do it again for 4 years, so. Post-election orientation, obviously there's quite a bit of planning going on throughout the quarter to start planning orientation for council. Tax arrears, unsightly property, we are working to try to now move some of these properties that we have taken or are taking on tax forfeiture. So at the moment, we do have one commercial property that we have taken as tax forfeiture for sale. We've listed it, and last quarter with the last council, we did get some direction on being able to have the authorities to set prices for these properties as we take them over and give administration authority to be able to manage sales within some parameters without having to come back to council for authorities each time. Establishing the municipal policing committee. So as was mentioned, there was a new bylaw that was presented for consideration to establish the municipal policing committee, which is a new initiative of the provinces. And now that election work is over, their services will begin to initiate recruitment for that board and get things started. So we recently had council members appointed to that as part of the orientation, and we'll be seeking members at large for that. Commercial and industrial development property tax incentive. This has been a discussion for some time. We have worked through our first tax incentive bylaw, which council gave all 3 readings to on September 8th. This is an incentive for new construction or major renovation and commercial development that had a minimum of $250,000 of increased assessment. And the bylaw allows for a maximum of $250,000 in municipal property tax savings based on the development and increased assessment. Peace Regional Healthcare Attraction and Retention Committee, that was another thing that was kind of tidied up prior to election. It was a committee that was never formally established by bylaw, highly active and effective committee on bringing new healthcare professionals to our community. But we did in the last quarter have it formalized by way of a bylaw, and that committee will continue to move forward. Exciting for those who are unaware, they were successful in receiving or being awarded the biannual conference? Yeah. So next year, this group from all over the province will be coming to Peace River to enjoy our beautiful community. And there'll be a lot of work involved to make that happen. Bill 20 and Bill 50, those are just bills that were introduced by the province, passed that have a number of changes to the municipality that we are just kind of working through. So administrative changes. Policing study is another big one. So in the summer, we did an RFP. We awarded a contract to BLU Alliance. This is a study that was required by the province. Minister Ellis insisted that we undertake the study before he would consider any further supports to our community for additional policing or the likes. So they were here in the summer. They've been doing a lot of information gathering and analysis. They were here in September, talked to the Prior Council, did some public open house, and talked to some targeted members within the community. I have just received the draft report. I'm going to go through the draft report, offer any of my comments, and I anticipate it to be presented to council for December 1st GMP. Tourism destination assessment was another big project. So again, in July, we had highly respected downtown and tourism destination assessment expert, Roger Brooks. He came to town, secretly shopped Peace River for over a week, looked through our community and actually our region through a first-time visitor lens. And following that, prepared a presentation for our community and for persons we invited within the community, and spoke to his findings, and also as part of that gave 100 recommendations for our business community and administration to consider actioning. Funding for this assessment, along with the retail service and gap analysis, was in part through a successful NRED, so Northern Rural Economic Development Grant application, which is a 50-50 matching funds grant. Also, in this last quarter, we started to work on 2026 tax and utility supported operating budgets. And the quarterly, as you were advised previously, the all the departments work on it on their own individually, then we close at the department level, then it gets rolled up into finance, corporate services, and then the departments, directors, and I worked through those numbers before we present a draft budget for council's consideration. So we have closed input to the functional level, and it's at the director level for review now. And then retail services gap analysis. So this was also part of the NRED grant application. And during the last quarter, the contract was awarded. We had the project kickoff, and the lead consultant was in Peace River late August to complete local information gathering. A survey, shopping survey was out from September to October, and the contractor is working on that input. During Q3 also, as you're aware, the manager of planning and development, who had been working on our finalized new draft refresh land use bylaw, that was brought forward after much public engagement, public consultation and whatnot. The final draft was brought forward, and all three readings, given final reading, not all three readings, sorry, given third and final reading on September 22nd. That new land use bylaw moved the needle significantly to increase and improve processes and what's allowable development and what is discretionary and what is allowable, which will reduce some of the red tape that people have been experiencing. Bylaws or policies, I had a number of them. I don't know how I managed to cut that section out somehow, but I did have a section on bylaws and policies that were brought forward. Somehow I managed to delete that. Advocacy slowed down. Obviously, summer things slow down during the summer, but one opportunity we did have was the RCMP Division Commanding Officer, Trevor Giroux, and his team did come up during the summer. We had opportunity to meet with him, former mayor and deputy mayor and myself, and we gave us opportunity to once again discuss our concerns and challenges that we have experienced here. And he did talk to us about that pop-up navigation center as well. So we were given a little bit of insight on that. Trainings and conferences, so the Alberta AB Muni Summer Municipal Leaders Conference was here, caucus was here. This summer, we also took some access to information training and, local authority elections act training. So the Access to Information, and Privacy and Protection Act, these replace the Freedom of Information and Protection and Privacy Act. Again, recent legislation that has come down changes, legislative services arranged and coordinated some regional training opportunities for administration and staff, and we'll be rolling that out now that she can no longer have election stuff, can really concentrate rolling out the training and the requirements under that act that we need to adhere to. I had opportunity to attend the HE conference in September, observing the live fire training, and then I also attended the breakfast and opening ceremonies. It's highly impressive, the conference and the training and the level of training that they provide during that conference, and I would encourage, I know every year, the fire chief does invite council to come and observe that conference, and I would recommend you just kind of park it in your mind when the opportunity does come up next year, because they do a fantastic job. Relationship building, again. Following the Roger Brooks presentation, as part of that, and I will share, there was, during the external presentation, I'm not sure who attended Roger Brooks, but it was videoed and it is online and available. And then we had an internal session the next day to provide some, then really, a little more detailed recommendations and stuff. I will send that internal meeting out to council to hear at your leisure, some of a little more meat and potatoes around the recommendations. So one of the recommendations out of that session was to develop a sorry, I've lost my destination development organization in town. And so what that is like when you go to Grand Prairie or Calgary, those places, and you pay that destination marketing fee, that's a provincial fee on your hotel rate. That money goes to Travel Alberta. We also have the ability to do something, and you'll see when you go to Banff, Calgary, Edmonton, they'll have the provincial destination marketing fee, then they'll have a local destination marketing fee. And Roger Brooks has suggested that, and even at a suggestion, so it does require a bylaw of council, and there's some legalities around it. There would need some work to be initiated, but he suggested, based on the occupancy rates that Alberta province has for our community, if they just charge $2 a door, it could come up to close to $400,000 of money for that organization then to just put into marketing the destination. So we wanted to have conversations with the hotels to see if there'd be any interest in it. That funding, if there was movement forward, what would happen is that funding would be straight flow through from those hotels to this organization that would be created of the hotel owners and operators, for them to determine how that funding marketing could be spent. So we wanted to have a conversation with the operators to see if they would even be engaged in it and interested before we put any more effort or energy into exploring it and bringing it forward to council. So for the most part, it was a favorable conversation. And so we will be doing a little bit more research on that and bringing it forward at a future GMP. Along with the Economic Development Committee, we will work with them and bring something forward for council's consideration. We had our annual staff appreciation event in September, where we celebrated our successes and recognized our employees and their service milestones. And this year, we had 11 employees that were recognized collectively. They represented 155 years of experience with the town. We had 1 5-year, 6 10-years, 2 15-year, 1 20-year, Tara Jean, and 1 celebrating 25 years, Barb Bravo. So I want to say congratulations and thank you to those employees and all of our employees for their service. There's a number of activities listed throughout here of general meetings, highlighted and activities that I had participated in. Moving on to records management. Records management, we've had some organizational changes, restructuring recently. Records management used to fall under Director of Corporate Services. When we created the Legislative Services Manager position, we moved records management from Director of Corporate Services over to Legislative Services. And so they've been working, I believe you've all had a tour of our records. And so our records manager our services records management coordinator is working hard to try to clean up some of those records and digitize and destroy and whatnot before we do some moving. And so there's 3 accomplishments. She's destroyed a number of boxes and records and transferred records at the museum. And then communications. So similarly, as records management has moved over under CAO and Legislative Services, communications was restructured and moved over to corporate services. And that's where you would have seen last week and their report. Economic development right now, because of Natalie, we're sharing the responsibilities between the Director of Infrastructure and myself, providing support to our economic development. And their big part was, again, the Roger Brooks presentation, preparing for that, the gap analysis, drafting and awarding that contract. The position, she also participates in the housing needs project. She's been out and about introducing herself, working on budget development, and also she planned and facilitated that tourism stakeholder lunch, which I was talking about with the hotel operators. Looking forward to the Q4, I'm going to be working primarily on would be recruitment of a Director of Corporate Services. Now you all learned that we will have a vacancy there. And we have a new EA starting this week, so we'll be working to onboard the executive assistant. Continue on post-election orientations, be working on budget, interim operating budget approval needs to be met before the end of the year. And then will be adoption of the 2026 capital budget and the 27 to 2030 capital plan. There's a number of bylaws there, utility rates, fees and charges. Oh, we can tick off the procedural bylaw. Protective services looking at taxi bylaw and business license. We also have the continuation of the CNL Fire Services Agreement and trying to find resolution with the MD of Peace Capital Contribution, continuation of the Enabling Housing Choice Project, the nuclear energy, the future town hall. We need to finalize those designs with council, obtain the cost estimates and post the tender, prepare and post the tender. Urban Reserve, I'm hoping to move that forward a little bit. I know Woodland Cree has an election in November. So probably shortly after their election, we will arrange council to council. But in the meantime, administration, we're always ready when they call. Tax arrears, yes, I want to finalize that expression of interest and we need to purchase the land. I'll be bringing forward a request to purchase the land so we can move forward on that. We need to have just a general discussion on a couple of those outsiders that we have here. Bill 20 and Bill 50, we have to continue working around the impacts and requirements. The policing study, as I mentioned, should be presented December first to council. Tourism destination assessment, that's where we're gonna start working on those, that destination marketing, and then the retail gap analysis project will just continue on this quarter. The next two pages I will present it to you is called, that's these pages here. It is called an action tracker. I'm not sure you had opportunity to review it. This is prepared and it includes all motions of council that require an action of administration. So it won't include the move to accept the agenda, move to, go into closed, but anything that is an action required of administration. And you will get these, you will get this listing with every quarterly report. And we'll typically mark where we are in the process. So these are the ones that were remaining outstanding. Maybe 360 or 660 motions less. No, I must have been 600. Yeah, so I had that number and I want to share. Anyways, these are the motions that remain outstanding from the last council and into anything of your first two meetings. And that would be, I would not normally go through a full extensive walkthrough of my quarterly report. Testing council will lead it, but I thought it'd be important this time to kind of be a little bit more detailed. Thank you.
Are there any questions for CAO Miller? No comments? Will someone be willing to, oh, no, we got one more here. Number 3, we have the Peace Regional RCMP
Number 2.
community. So yeah, the mental health one. Where am I here?
Number 2.
Oh yeah, number 2, sorry about that. Okay, so CAO Miller is done, then the Peace Regional Mental Health Task Force meeting minutes are in our package, and Councillor Carr is absent. So I guess we can just move on from that. On to number 3, the Peace Regional RCMP Community Advisory Committee draft meeting minutes with Councillor Ford. Do you have anything to say to that?
Sure, I'll keep my comments a little bit shorter than CAO Miller's. Jokingly speaking, of course. Yeah, a couple of updates. The speed reader board currently down in Shaftesbury Estates should have been taken down last Thursday. I do believe, I'm not sure if it's down yet. That speed reader board report will be downloaded and I will be emailing that to administration and the RCMP as usual, and then that report would be, the final report would be brought forward to council for information. And it gives us data tracking of the speeds and vehicle counts in that playground zone, which is supposed to be 30 kilometers an hour from 8:30 in the morning till 1 hour after sunset. The other big one is the RCMP Advisory Committee wrote a letter to Minister Ellis supporting the sheriffs to participate in it's called ROTC, which stands for Real Time Operations Center at K Division. It is a very, very high tech operations center that you can see it on TV. Like, so if you have a priority 1 call, you can actually, the operations center can actually look through a member's body camera or drones, or they have access to everything and they're able to guide those services or those potential needs to that priority 1 call. So that's we're trying to get our sheriffs involved in that as well. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Councillor Ford? Seeing none, is there anyone that wants to make the motion to accept reports 9 to 9-1 tonight? Councillor Deuce.
I move that council accept reports. 10.1, is that 10.1?
9.
9.1 to 9.3 for information.
All those in favor? And that is carried. Number 10, information, draft minutes of the November 3rd, 2025 governance and priorities meeting. Someone want to move that for information if there's,
You got a motion over there.
Mr. Babalola?
I move that council accept item 10.1 for information. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that is carried. Number 11, notices of motion, there are none.
I have none.
And comments from the public. We have one person here, she has no comments. So next we'll have the closed session. We'll need someone to move us into closed.
What's the 5-minute break?
Okay, 5-minute break, then we'll move into closed.
Perhaps for our online community, we'll just let them know the meeting won't be returning.
For the online community, we will not be returning to live stream after the closed session. Thank you.